states, you can find examples of states where the deaths are going up. I mean, look, there's deaths, daily deaths, Wisconsin. Brandon says nursing homes aren't getting hit as hard anymore, so less deaths. Yeah, I mean, so that can matter too. If you have
'20 has certainly given me lots of surprises, and one of those has to be that Cyberpunk 2077 has now been delayed to December 10th. Right now, the community is in an uproar. The Discord for Cyberpunk.
There was the free game for the month. Payback. Need for Speed Payback. It's free on PlayStation Plus. So I've been playing the hell out of that shit lately. And now they're saying that Cyberpunk 2077 has another delay, and it won't come out until December, is what this guy just said.
'20 has certainly given me lots of surprises, and one of those has to be that Cyberpunk 2077 has now been delayed to December 10th. Right now, the community is in an uproar.
Yeah, so you got your build, your racing build.
Reportedly been just a mess, so much anger in the community. And we're going to be breaking it all down today. We just have a lot to go over. We have some further statements coming from CDPR's executives about what's actually happening, and it's becoming clear what the actual problem is, and it seems to be the current gen versions of Cyberpunk 2077. That's why they needed an extra 3 weeks to work on the game. And we're also going to be going over some of the extremely nasty hostile takes, including some attacks on CD Projekt Red developers and including their responses. CDPR has also been responding to some frustration over removed features and also hyping up that we have just seen nothing yet. So yeah, a lot of Cyberpunk 2077 that we have to discuss. But today's video is brought to you by Displate. These are phenomenally well manufactured metal posters for all kinds of artwork coming in different sizes, finishes, and frames. Displate actually has partnered with companies like CD Projekt Red with numerous beautiful Cyberpunk 2077 prints. If you are interested in getting a Displate, follow the link in the description down below. You'll be helping to support the channel, and also right now you'll receive a 30% discount if you get one this week. Big thank you to Displate for sponsoring the video. So we now move to the following statement or message, which was delivered by CD Projekt Red studio head Adam Badowski and co-founder Marcin Owinski. This was of course posted yesterday, and this is what they had to say. Today we've decided to move the release date of Cyberpunk 2077 by 21 days. The new release date is December 10th. Most likely, there are many emotions and questions in your head, so first and foremost, please accept our humble apologies. And as you're going to see in a few, just a lot of emotions, they are right, and a lot of people upset, feeling that their, I guess you could say, their vacation plans that a lot of people had already created for Cyberpunk 2077 has been ruined by this delay, which happened, I think, 22 days or 23 days.
BS, I'm always watching the stream, bro.
And they continue saying the biggest challenge for us right now is shipping the game on current gen, next gen, and PC at the same time, which requires us to prepare and test 9 versions of it. And there's more details on specifically what's holding back Cyberpunk 2077 right now, and we're going to get to that in just a second, but it seems to be the current gen version of the game. But the 9 versions that they're working on is the Xbox One/X, compatibility on Xbox Series S/X, PS4/the Pro version, compatibility on PS5, PC, and the 5 people that plan to play on Stadia when they are doing all of this while working from home. And I really think people need to understand that COVID-19 has ruined things this year, and I really think that that really has to be pointed out when we're talking about all the delays that happened with Cyberpunk 2077 up to this point. But they continue with their statement saying, since Cyberpunk 2077 evolved towards almost being a next-gen title, somewhere along the way, we need to make sure everything works well and every version runs smoothly. We're aware it might seem unrealistic when someone says that 21 days can make any difference in such a massive and complex game, but they really do. Some of you might also be wondering what these words mean in light of us saying we achieved Gold Master some time ago. Passing certification or going Gold means the game is ready, can be completed, and has all content in it, but it doesn't mean we stop working on it and raising the quality bar. On the contrary, this is the time where many improvements are being made, which will then be distributed via a Day Zero patch. This is the time period we undercalculated. We feel we have an amazing game on our hands and are willing to make every decision, even the hardest ones, if it ultimately leads to you getting a video game you'll fall in love with. But yeah, compared to the amount of times that we've seen this yellow message this year, people are pissed. They are very, very angry, and some of it's getting very, very hostile right now. And we're going to get to that in a second, but there has been a new update as of this morning, and there was, I guess you could say, an emergency conference call from CD Projekt Red's executives in which they talked with investors about what's happening, and we got some further insight. So the teleconference was hosted by CEO Adam Kaczynski and a couple of other board members, and this is what they said about the new release date. We are firm on it. Releasing on November 19th was possible, but having these 3 more weeks gives us a chance to fix this and that. The decision was not easy, but we know there's just one release, and the first impression is crucial, and I think that's what people need to understand. If they launch this game and it's broken in some ways, like if just certain aspects of the game is just unplayable, people aren't going to forget that. I think it's really weird how people just ignore what's happened with a lot of the AAA games in the last number of years, whether that be Skyrim back in, 2011, the PlayStation 3 just being completely broken, Batman Arkham Knight, I believe, was broken on PC for a long time. Fallout 76 was just and kind of still is broken. Anthem, more recently the Avengers game, was a total mess. But the truth is that first impressions are critical. They are massive. They play a major factor in word of mouth. And while there are lots of people excited for Cyberpunk 2077, there are a lot more casual gamers which are on the fence, and they're probably going to wait until they see some reviews or hear the buzz. And if there are problems at launch, some people may just decide not to play the game, and that's something that CDPR is considering. And let's continue. They say, so in the long run, the decision is beneficial for them. Better initial reaction of the game always works in favor of more sales, which is their goal. They are a company. That is why we are delaying. We don't have to, but having this extra time gives us more certainty that everything will be in the game when we release. And they continue about what's going on with the delay. Specifically, they say the situation is different compared to previous changes to the deadline. This game for PC is ready and plays well on next-gen consoles, and the company is finalizing the process concerning current-gen consoles. So this is where it seems to be the problem. On the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, probably the base models, the game isn't running all that well. And yes, you want to know something? If let's just say Cyberpunk 2077 releases on November 19th, and then there are some huge frame drops and huge issues, you're going to see many reviewers note that in their articles, giving lower review scores, and there's going to be outrage, and yes, less sales will result in all of that. And I think that people that are really just working themselves up, getting really angry about this, I'm disappointed myself, but I think you have to understand that this year is crazy. It's a mess. I think we all have to agree on that. But let's continue on. They say this about the game. We're really sure we have something amazing in our hands, and once the game is released, everyone will understand why it was so difficult. Don't get us wrong. We're kind of internally stressed on the one hand, but on the other, we feel very strong about the game, and we're super happy with what we will deliver. And on pre-orders, they say that right now, the ratio for pre-orders between The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077 at the same time before the premiere is continuously very satisfying. CD Projekt, no major cancellations of pre-orders because of the delay, and then they talk about marketing. They say there is going to be some extra.
Raymore and Flanagan want to thank our veterans, so we're extending savings of 15 to 20% on all furniture and mattresses to everyone. You get 15 to 20% off everything at Raymore and Flanagan's Veterans Day sale.
supporting budget for sure to account for this change, and I mean, everything has been disrupted by this delay. The heavy marketing for this game is already underway. The November 19th release date was everywhere. We saw that during the NBA Finals, in which we saw the debut of some trailers with Keanu Reeves front and center with that November 19th date, and also some CGI footage. This has been going on for the last couple of weeks. CDPR has been hyping things up. They got some out-of-home marketing already. You got that huge November 19th on London buses, on trains, on billboards all over the countries, worldwide, and now they had to shift. So definitely there has to be some problems with the current gen versions. I really do think that there has to be some huge performance issues for them to have to delay it. I mean, this is something that's unprecedented, I would say. You don't see this after a game has gone gold. But then again, I will say that going gold in this day and age is a lot different than what it was in 2004, 2003, where once you got that disc, you got that disc and that was it. So the experience had to be polished back then. But nowadays, there really isn't that. You see just update after release, fixing constant and lots of bugs because the scope of video games have drastically changed. Now, a few more things on feedback. They said that this gives them lots of confidence. Those who completed the game for them internal testing say that they have never played a game like this before. And then the impact of delay on extensions, I believe this is just referring to the expansions planned for the game. We expect no impact on extensions, which is probably good news to people that are excited for this game and for what comes afterwards. Now, for the future impact, they say CD Projekt plans some organizational changes in technical departments. Too many things were put together at late stages, says CEO Adam. Now, to the many emotions and reactions of this delay, we first have Jeff Keighley saying it might be time to retire the phrase "the game has gone gold," and I could not agree more. And I already stated my specific reasons for why that probably should be gone now. Times have changed. And then Fandom points out the delay history here in 2020. Again, we started the year off with the expected release date of April 16th. And I think what's becoming more clear is that COVID-19 and the chaotic state that is 2020 has disrupted things. Having developers not being in-house working on Cyberpunk 2077 has created challenges. And I think people have to understand this game's been in development for 8 years. 8 years. And the final push for this game, everybody had to go remote. And there's only so many things that can get done remotely. You need to have people in person doing this stuff, communicating and trying to get things fixed. And without that ability, it's created complications for CD Projekt Red clearly and obviously. But as I said before, Cyberpunk 2077 was set to launch April 16th, 2020, entering the year. But then the first delay came, I think, around January.
We love anime, you love anime, we all love anime. Which is why only picking 10 series to include on this list was super tough. But hey, someone's gotta do it. These are the 10 best anime series ever. Fooly Cooly is short, even by normal anime standards. But there's a lot to be said for a good sci-fi comedy that knows how to call it quits before it wears out its welcome. Fooly Cooly is about as bizarre and hilarious as anime gets, with the original series revolving around an ordinary suburban boy and his extra friendly alien friend. And come on! Interdimensional forehead robots? So good. The surreal tone, incredible soundtrack courtesy of the Pillows, and experimental animation style all serve to make Fooly Cooly a wholly unique and unforgettable experience. Yu Yu Hakusho tells the story of Yusuke Urameshi, who is, by all accounts, a delinquent. But this delinquent redeems himself when he sacrifices his life to save a child from an oncoming car. And it's in the afterlife when he realizes his unique dilemma. No one in heaven or hell actually thought he would sacrifice himself to save someone else, and as a result, doesn't belong in either place. His journey back to the land of the living proves to the higher-ups in the afterlife that he'd be pretty darn good at handling the meddling affairs of demons. Armed with his spirit gun and squad of supernatural allies, this spirit detective sets off on a realm-traversing adventure that, of course, culminates in a giant tournament, because no shonen would be complete without one. Yu Yu Hakusho stands shoulder to shoulder with Dragon Ball Z as one of the most influential action anime of the 90s. There's a reason we all still need an ending explained for Neon Genesis Evangelion more than 20 years after its release. The mythology behind the production of Hideaki Anno's groundbreaking anime has become as much a part of Evangelion's story as the series itself, with its final 2 episodes still divisive and up for debate. What isn't up for debate, however, is Evangelion's continued excellence both as an elevated take on the mech anime genre and as a harrowing and incredibly personal exploration of depression. Even with the countless movie and series sequels and reimaginings, Neon Genesis Evangelion's original run remains a fan favorite and showcases how a singular auteur approach to storytelling can create art that continues to resonate for generations. Hunter x Hunter starts out in familiar territory. Our hero, Gon, leaves his small town for the first time on a quest to find his long-forgotten father who had left him behind. His only clue? He's a world-famous licensed hunter. So Gon sets off to take the notoriously deadly exam and become a hunter himself. It sounds mundane and almost by the book, but Hunter x Hunter is the emotional highs and lows and the arcs of both the protagonist and antagonist are some of the best around. And as with most shonen, the dramatic action is just mwah.
Alright, we're gonna work on her skin tones for a little bit.
100 is another fun romp from the original One Punch Man creator, One. The series works as both a parody of shonen-style anime and a great example of it. The story revolves around Mon, a reserved boy who, of course, specializes in exorcising evil spirits. The catch? His own supernatural powers are tied to his emotions. If he gets pushed over the edge, the entire world is in peril. Mob Psycho 100 thrives on the strength of its humor, its small but memorable cast of characters, and dynamic visual style. Also known in the US as Fighting Spirit, Hajime no Ippo is a thrilling adaptation of an incredibly long-running manga series. Picture a mashup of Rocky and the Karate Kid, and then you'll have some idea of what to expect from this coming-of-age drama. Hajime no Ippo follows the story of a bullied teen named Ippo Makonuchi who discovers he has a knack for boxing. As the series follows Ippo's training and gradual rise through the ranks, what really makes it shine is the way Hajime no Ippo strives to flesh out both sides of any given matchup. Ippo doesn't just train to be the best, but to understand and connect with his opponents. That alone is enough to set the series apart from everything else out there. One Piece has sat on the top of the anime and manga throne for decades, and for good reason. Eiichiro Oda's seemingly never-ending pirate adventure has somehow managed to keep a consistent level of quality over a staggering 22 years, with every new arc introducing new and exciting parts of the world. In addition, it also pays off plot points established way back at the start of the adventure. One Piece strikes the perfect balance of comedy, drama, and storytelling. But most importantly, the one thing that One Piece has in greater quantities than any other shonen out there is heart. Monster is simply one of the best stories ever told in anime manga form. But more than that, it's a special anime because of how different it is from everything else. In a medium dominated by giant robots, superpowered heroes that shoot beams out of their hands, and virtual fantasy worlds, Monster is refreshingly grounded in reality. It's a dark, mature, gritty thriller about a good man who loses everything after doing what he believed to be the right thing, and the dark descent that he must endure in order to correct his mistake. It's hard to believe, but Cowboy Bebop is over 20 years old now, and still holds up so well, both in conception and execution. This space western introduced the world to Spike, Jet, Faye, and of course, Ein. The series is gorgeously
Einstein the dog.
Story, strong characters, and one hell of a soundtrack that ensures it remains one of the best anime ever made. Cowboy Bebop has had a reach far beyond anime. Everyone from
it's number 2 out of the top 10,
Johnson to Robin Williams have praised the series and cited its influence on their work. The series' relatable story at the heart of its 26-episode run is a key factor in its success. Exploration of adult themes like loss all help to anchor the crew's journey throughout the stars.
3, 2, 1, let's jam.
The struggle of most anime is laying out intricate world building while balancing a cast of memorable characters, iconic moments, and thrilling fights. And that's what makes Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood so special. The framing device for our
The
entry
number
into
one
this
anime
strong
is
world
Full Metal
is one of
Alchemist?
sympathy. We understand why the Elric brothers would practice forbidden alchemy to resurrect their dead mother. And yet, despite divine intervention slapping them in the face telling them no, they continue on their quest. And that quest paves the way for motivation that guides them through a world of monsters, government conspiracy, and divinity. And despite all its elegance, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood also knows how to lay it all bare in unforgettable moments that will leave you standing in front of your TV cheering for the Elric brothers. Look, I'm not gonna lie, we argued about this list for like an entire week, so it's clearly not perfect. What did you think of the list? What would you add? What would you remove? Please let us know. in the
Yo,
comments
Cowboy
below.
Bebop is my
And for all
second
things anime, be
favorite
sure to
anime,
follow,
and they
subscribe,
got it
and
right
share
at the
wherever
second
you'd like to
spot.
watch.
But like, why did you not put Ghost in the Shell on the fucking of series, anime series? Ghost in the Shell is definitely like one of the top 10 anime series of all fucking time, bro. You ain't even mention that shit.
Witches, they're real and they hate children.
The test is coming.
Why are we mouses?
Mummies.
Whatever.
Welcome to Disney Plus. Are you ready? Drop in and explore.
I'm Ashley with Watch Mojo, and these are the top 20 R-rated anime.
Paralyzer didn't work. It's gotta be hopped up on stimulants.
R-rated, yeah,
In
Psychopath,
this
I like
list, we'll be
that.
looking at the series that contain a substantial amount of content that would scar a younger anime viewer for life, which is another way of saying that if you're a fan of heavy violence, explicit fan service, and all other manner of heavy subjects, these are the shows for you. As always, you can catch me on Twitter at AshJBo, so head over there, give me a follow, and let me know which anime list you want to see next. Number 20, Baki. If you can withstand the whiplash that is this martial arts fiesta,
I have the
continuity,
Baki.
since
I have
it's
that
technically the third season, then prepare yourself for plenty of do or die fist fights.
And now, it's payback time.
Following the muscular exploits of the fighting prodigy, he, along with his fellow ridiculously ripped allies, find themselves hauled into a set of grudge matches against a collective of escaped convicts whose strength is so intense that they all yearn to know defeat. You may come for the showdowns, but you'll stick around for the absurdity that is Baki. Number 19, Prison School. After miraculously finding themselves enlisted as the only guys in an all-girls school, it doesn't take long for our cast of characters to completely ruin whatever luck they had.
Most impressive, madam. Deal with this scum, won't you?
When their peeping plan goes south, this crew finds themselves locked up in a school prison that is run by the student council themselves.
Don't you ever patronize me! What a bait!
What follows is quite possibly the most ridiculous prison break you'll ever witness, with twists and turns and outlandish shenanigans that'll have you laughing every step of the way.
This full-on Tokus will go down in history as my own Shimatsu move!
Number 18, Goblin Slayer. If you're looking for a fancy romp with more edge than a Go Gaia roleplay, you
Alright,
needn't look
so
any further
really just
than
wanted to
Old
touch up
Chess
that
over
one
here.
little letter. There's still a few books that need lettering on it, but I'm gonna take a break from the books for a few days and work on the portrait. So I'm gonna clean my palette and get some skin tone colors.
Has only one thing on mind: slaughtering every little green SOB he can find. While the premise may sound pretty thin, this is a surprisingly hard-hitting tale that doesn't know the meaning of boundaries. You'll soon find yourself getting an engulfing rush every single time Slayer puts one of these little freaks down. Trust us, they more than deserve it. 17. Drifters. Ever wondered what it would look like if an all-powerful enigmatic entity picked up and dropped several historical figures into a medieval setting with elves and dragons and have them run wild? Chances are it's not nearly as slick and ferocious as this. With the Black King and his horde of famous real-life villains running amok and causing chaos, the likes of Toyohisa Shimazu, Oda Nobunaga, Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid, along with the numerous other icons, are forced to band together and start slaying their way through every orc, corrupt noble, and potential evil Christ figure that comes their way.
All you need to launch a cold skate brand. Honestly, as long as you have a logo that looks good on literally everything, and a Squarespace online store, you're all set.
For 16, Parasites. Aliens walk among us. They just so happen to be hiding inside people, and that's just so they can continue their insatiable hunger for human meat. Nice guy Shinichi unfortunately finds himself caught up in this bloody struggle when one of these intergalactic parasites takes up sentience inside his right hand, allowing him to retain his humanity while relying on his new shape-shifting partner to help defend himself and loved ones from not-so-friendly body snatchers. Fair warning, they don't skip out on the gore. Number 15, Psychopaths.
Activating dominated portable psychological gun. Now on.
A neo-noir detective thriller from the mind of the man that gave us such traumatizing hits as Fate Zero and Medica Magica. Yep, expect plenty of darkness going into this, along with an unhealthy amount of hating mankind as a whole. In a future where your very emotions are monitored and can land you life imprisonment should they spike to dangerous degrees, rookie detective Akane, along with hard-edged enforcer Kogami, are thrust into a deadly game of cat and mouse with a mastermind looking to disrupt the New World Order, only to discover that the status quo might be the greatest evil of all.
Okay, we're with the Public Safety Bureau. I promise you're safe now. Just calm down. Man, we're here to rescue you, that's all. No!
Number 14, Kengan Ashura. Underground tournaments, death matches, absurdly powerful fighters, and one man's yearning for revenge. Welcome to Netflix's most kick-ass action romp to date. With the illustrious position of chairman on the line, numerous martial artists, killers, and borderline monsters are dispatched to represent their respective companies in the Kengan matches. This includes Omato Kita, whose personal goal continues to push him to beat the crap out of anyone who steps up to him and his Nico style, all in the hope of landing some much-deserved vengeance. As silly as it sounds, they really don't pull their punches here. Number 13, Interspecies Reviewers. You're goddamn right we're recommending this one. How could you not want to feast your eyes on the show that managed to blur the line between erotic comedy and full-on monster girl hentai to such an extent that it ended up pushing the boundary too far for Japanese audiences?
でも、どうして展開に？
展開もスケベな店は
あるのかなってな。
So, what sets it apart from all the other fan service-based shows out there? It's hilarious, as it follows a cluster of wannabe adventurers going around and reviewing the various brothels made up of various mythical ladies. It knows exactly what it is, and does it better than anyone else.
ご来店ありがとうございます。
Number 12, Dorohedoro, a guy with a lizard head slicing apart sorcerers, all in the hope of trying to reclaim his lost memories and discover why there's a random guy living inside his mouth. Bonkers, bloody, and brutal. Kaiman's exploits in this crazy-ass world is nothing short of a delight. It's a wild mystery made all the sweeter thanks to so many colourful characters to bounce off of, especially Kaiman's adorably badass bestie, Nikaido, and the smiling Amazon goddess.
Yo, Trippy, what up, what up? So got that cleaned off real quick. Let's throw some paint on there.
How can such a bloodbath of a show have this many great girls? Number 11, Vinland Saga. You can't be a historical fantasy that chronicles the Viking occupation of England without highlighting the bloodshed and brutality involved. Going from innocent youth to an animal driven by an overwhelming desire for revenge, Thorfinn's journey is as compelling as it is heartbreaking. While the fight scenes between the various factions make for quite the spectacle, it's the narrative and character interactions that propel this series to the title of masterpiece. Do not miss out on experiencing this unfiltered epic, even if it's only to watch Torgal punch horses. Number 10, Black Lagoon. We could go into great detail about how this show doesn't shy away from gang violence, how its setting allows everything from drugs, prostitution, and hardcore bloodshed to run rampant across the screen. Hell, we'd be happy to delve into the intricacies that come with seeing a boat full of neo-Nazis get slaughtered.
Now witness the awesome power of...
Can you see I wasn't even listening?
However, all we really need to highlight in order to prove this series isn't for the kids is Revi's Motormouth. This woman could curse like no other to the point where it's almost poetic.
Why don't I do you a f***ing favor and show you what color your brain is?
Wait! Yeah, we're connected.
Number 9, Hellsing Ultimate.
I'm just pleased, that's all. The world would be so boring without idiots like you to amuse me.
On one side, you have crazed Catholics seeking to exterminate all sinners. On the other, you have vampire remnants of the Third Reich, led by a major who adores nothing more than war and genocide. And in the middle, a gun-wielding Dracula who might just be the most bloodthirsty of them all.
It takes a man in order to kill a monster.
If you're looking to witness pure stylistic carnage, then you can't go wrong with watching Alucard go on one of his signature rampages. One thing is for sure, it sucks to be a civilian in this series.
What will you do, Rip Van Winkle?
Number 8, Perfect Blue.
Oh, that Perfect Blue is crazy. I see that shit.
A running theme of all great R-rated anime appears to be that the worst monsters out there are none other than human beings. After immersing ourselves in this whirlpool of a psychological thriller, we're inclined to agree. While pursuing a career as an actress, former singer Mima soon finds herself on the receiving end of a dangerous stalker, all the while her grip on reality seems to slowly be starting to slip. Primal in its presentation with a visceral truth to it, this classic will have you holding your breath right up to its fever dream of a finale. Number 7, Attack on Titan. It's survival of the fittest, and unfortunately mankind is no longer at the top of the food chain. As giant humanoid beasts known as Titans wander the land, the duty of expanding humanity's reach is handed to the poor souls of the Survey Corps.
My friends are being devoured, and all I can do is watch.
After his mother is killed and he finds himself inexplicably cursed with the power to transform into a Titan himself, a vengeful young man named Eren decides to take the fight to the enemy. Prepare to see a lot of characters get digested. Number 6, Ghost in the Shell.
living, thinking entity who was created in the sea of information.
What separates man and machine? The answer might be a little trickier than you'd think, especially when AI enters the picture.
I'm working on another piece for my reader
The
series.
elusive hacker known as the Puppet Master. The film explored.
So, tons of books here. Tons of books. So everybody know the reader series. Black people reading books written by black people. Black people reading books written by black people. Black people reading books. Black people reading books. Black people reading books. And black people reading books written by black people. Talking about black people shit. Blueprint for Black Power. You know what I'm saying? Reader series is what's up. And don't ever forget that 9/11 was an inside job. I'm just trying to let y'all know. Remember that. You know, shit like that. So, what I'm gonna do is work on the skin a little bit. For the next couple of days, I'll work on her face. Try to add the final set of details to it and highlights her face and her hands. After I do that, I'll work on her hair and her clothing, her jacket and her jeans. And then I'll work on the main book here. And she has 2 books on her lap right here. And I'll get those. And then I'll go back and kind of touch up the background and make sure everything in the foreground looks good. And we should be finished. So maybe a week or so, I'll work on this will be my main focus. My main project for the next couple weeks. If I don't get any other work to pop up, a commission or a mural project or some crazy shit. I started this painting like months ago. I started way earlier in the year. And I've just, like I said, I've just been so busy with so many other projects that I just haven't had time to finish this one. But we back on it now. Back on it, doggone it.
Concepts of life, death, gender, and the ways in which technology holds sway. Don't worry if metaphorical musings aren't really your thing, there's plenty of disturbing imagery to pull you over. I mean, we still can't unsee the sight of the Major tearing up her own body against a waking tank. Number 5, Baccano.
Very good, Carol. I see what you mean by main character-ish.
Gangsters, immortality, and a whole lot of bullets. Thanks to the show's dynamic cast of characters and their endless supply of charm, you'll find yourself falling head over heels for them in spite of their large body counts. Don't get us wrong, there's blood and guts galore, but that doesn't make Isaac and Miria's antics any less fun. Just like watching Claire Stanfield talk about how he is nothing short of a blood-soaked, omnipotent being any less captivating.
I am the absolute center of this world. Its creator.
There's so much to love about these guys that by the end of it, you won't even blink twice at all the murders that occur on the Flying Pussyfoots.
What's the matter, sweetheart? You saying you don't want to be killed by me?
Number 4, Devilman Crybaby. Are you feeling good about life at the moment? Then just watch this latest adaptation of the 1970s classic, and you'll soon be reminded of how our species are no more virtuous than
Like they say,
demons.
Devilman Crybaby. I remember Devilman, but I
Denizens of
don't
hell
remember
are
no
using
Crybaby.
human bodies as hosts. Local wimpy kid Akira finds himself unwittingly turned into a devil himself, but one with a human heart.
お前は悪魔の体と人間の心を合わせ持つデビルマンだ。
Everything in this modern masterpiece is hardcore, from the violence to the sex to the feels. Won't be long before you're crying just as hard as Akira.
俺はデビルマン。人の命を奪う者を許しはしない。
Number 3, Berserk.
It is your destiny to face.
Yeah, that Berserk was crazy.
You cannot escape.
It's a cruel world, and the swordsman Guts knows it all too well. Born from a corpse, abused by his foster father, thrown onto the battlefield from the time he could walk, this guy has seen more carnage than any can imagine, and that's all before he finds himself drafted in a mercenary company known as the Band of the Hawk.
I find you much to my liking. I want you to join me, Guts.
From there, he finds himself embroiled into a 100-year war, facing down creatures not of this world, and suffering the greatest betrayal in anime history. Number 2, Akira. As far as
Akira is
dystopian futures
definitely
go,
a classic.
this is one you certainly won't want to be caught up in. Well, maybe for those slick motorcycles, but that's about it. As gang warfare erupts in the city of Neo-Tokyo, friends Kaneda and Tetsuo find themselves thrown into a whole new kind of hell when the latter finds himself imbued with immense psychic abilities. From that point, it's on. As Tetsuo's powers rage out of control, you can expect to see plenty of one-time destruction, along with what could possibly be the most disgusting transformation sequence of all time. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, Cowboy Bebop.
What's wrong?
They got number 1? Hell yeah.
There may not be as much blood, sex, or violence than the other entries on this list, but in terms of sheer style, nothing tops the Space Cowboy. As the likes of Spike Spiegel and his mismatched crew traverse the galaxy hunting down bounties, each find themselves thrown into a variety of hotspots with dangerous criminals, deadly assassins, and the infamous Red Dragon Syndicate.
Then why are you still alive?
There really is no other word for this show than cool.
Julia was here, right in this town.
Step aside, Lynn.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from Watch Mojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.
Witches, they're real, and they hate children.
The test is coming.
Why are we mouses? Mice? Whatever.
Simba, you must remember who you are.
So yeah, the original video's got a copyright takedown. I decided to move everything over to Dailymotion. You can find the links to the Dailymotion versions of the videos in the description box below. However, I am still fighting for the copyright strikes on the originals just for the sake of having those and also the discussion promoted by them be left around for archival purposes. This new video will not serve to mitigate any of the points I made before. If anything, all I do is flesh my ideas out even further. I do make a few corrections in the video, but nothing that backs down on my overall thesis. If anything, I only use those to further enhance my argument. So, hope you like this. My favorite movie of all time is Hot Fuzz.
What the fuck is he on about?
Just kidding, it's Apocalypse Now.
What do you know about
Film.
making your goddamn...
Kidding. I don't actually have a favorite movie. I stand by this ideology of having a sporadic clump of 10 apex films. Here's the list, by the way. But End of Evangelion is absolutely my favorite animated movie, and bar none, my favorite anime. Like, I hold End of Eva and Neon Genesis Eva on two completely separate tiers, despite the fact that the movie is a direct continuation of the show. This shit is a legitimate work of art in every sense of the word. In every sense of media production, this is fucking art. In every sense of animation, this is fucking art. And all of it happened in 1997, the same year I was born.
Shit is like goddamn motherfucking Stanley Kubrick made a cartoon. And just to elaborate upon that, Akira's Tarantino, Ghost in the Shell is Scorsese, and Ghibli is Spielberg. I'd recommend watching these videos before we dive into this one. They're good prepping material for my mentality, and they'll make a lot of what I say more digestible if you're new to film study. I'm not just saying that because I want a higher view count and audience retention. I'm genuinely saying that because these will be helpful when you're going into this video. Now as for the end of Evangelion, shit is like a master course on the immersive cinematic experience. And that's a hell of a feat for a traditionally animated film. You really don't see many of these, and they are my favorite thing. Oh, did I mention fuck this movie's English dub? Because despite what a lot of people will tell you, fuck this movie's English dub. So this rant about voice acting that I do for about like 5 minutes is completely irrelevant now because Netflix redubbed the entire film. The main actors do in fact do a good job in their performances. The director was actually very good friends with them, and she did an amazing job of, well, directing them.
I knew Jimmy would pay top dollar to get that stupid doll back.
Every single missile hit the target!
Like, my main qualms with the dub don't stem from the main voice actors for Shinji, Misato, Asuka, and Rei, and Gendo. I think they all do a great job. The problem is, I'm constantly being taken out of the experience by these jarring cartoon character voices present in the secondary cast. The JSDF soldiers sound stupid as hell.
Showtime, ladies. All units, move out.
And this dude's just laughing when he's about to blow Shinji's head off, having the time of his damn life.
Sorry, kid. Nothing personal.
The Japanese one has audible regret. Less like he's super relaxed about murder, and more like he's apathetic about what his job is. Based upon official images released with the end of Evangelion's Laserdisc, I'm pretty sure we can infer that Anno is going more for these guys being proficient, normal people, rather than being the squad, roll up into nerve to plug some bitches, holla boy, JSDF, JSDF! The Nerve Bridge Crew has this one dorky white dude voiced by a black dude with a deep voice.
Damn, haven't you ever heard of moderation?
Under the original production management, this character was voiced by the ADR director of Ava, so this could have been a jab at him.
Real what?
Kind of fucking petty, but okay.
I wish those bastards felt the same way.
And on top of that, there's a lot of problems with the script. Some parts are just flat out errors in terms of Ava's chronology. When Misato's explaining Celia's intent and the origin of Second Impact to Shinji, everything's going well, until a sudden mistranslation.
Mankind was spawned from a being called Lilith, just like Adam was.
This is actually incorrect. Although within canon, humans were in fact born from Lilith, Adam was not. Adam is its own thing entirely, and was actually the seed of life that created the other angels. A more accurate translation would be something to the tune of, mankind was spawned from a being akin to Adam, known as Lilith. Credit to Ape Monkey for that one. Oh, did I mention the screaming? Because, like, the Japanese ones are like the sounds of actual pain and suffering, and that is legitimately terrifying. The English ones are okay sometimes, you know, for the main cast. But compare this scene where these soldiers are emotionlessly and mercilessly burning an offspring woman alive. Now compare that to these two dude bros barbecuing Tarzan over here. I mean, there's seriously no comparison unless you want to make this into a comedy movie. The Japanese one's fucking terrifying. Hey, you know, if we're gonna make our English dub a cartoon, let's add a bunch of cartoon sound effects. This is only in the dub track. This is real. I did not edit this in. It was in the wrong fucking audio channel too, did you hear that? Like the gunshots coming from the right side of the room on the right speaker, and the splats coming from the left side of the room on the left speaker. Did you know that sound effect is actually in John Carpenter's The Thing? Like, this whole scene is great, it has an amazing practical effect in it, but as soon as that sound, it almost sort of ruins the mood of it. You know, like how it ruins this violent and dark moment from a typically lighthearted character. When Gendo's voice cuts out here, that was actually due to an audio error in the original recording. The silence had a lot of weight to it with the interpretational aspect, so it was left in that way. Due to that, the English dub doesn't really hold the same weight, as it's delivered like a play script, where he's waiting to be cut off. Like it was written and delivered as, the truth is, dash. I mean, honestly, this one's such a fucking nitpick, I actually do like Gendo's dub actor. By the way, the line blanked out is most likely, I needed you. The lip movements match the Japanese for that, and Ritsuko types it on the computer during instrumentality. She's also a character who throughout the entire show has had the motivation of wanting to be needed. Speaking of directorial decisions, the line "how disgusting" in the Japanese version actually comes from a place of real, well, disgust. Asuka's VA wasn't bringing the exact feeling Hideki Anno wanted to the table. So he described the scenario to her to the tune of, Miyamura.
Just imagine you are sleeping in your bed, and a stranger sneaks into your room.
He can rape you at any time as you're asleep.
But he doesn't. Instead, he masturbates
when you wake up and know what he did to you.
What do you think you would say?
Asuka's VA replied with a very genuine, which phrasing-wise has a broad interpretation, but the one with the most bite is how disgusting. And that completely improvised, genuine take of her saying that is what made it into the film. I also heard some stuff about Anno actually making Shinji's actress choke Asuka's to the point where she was really crying, but I can't verify that one. So you see why I compare Hideki Anno to Stanley Kubrick? So yeah, fuck the dub. It hinders how immersed I can get in the film. And honestly, due to this, choosing to watch the movie dubbed or subbed feels like watching two completely different movies to me. So all this said about the old dub, I still feel indifferent to the new dub. The best comparison I could make is,
Watch out! You're gonna crash! Ah!
Oh no, oh god no, that's way too mean. I think Shinji's hospital scene actually came out pretty great. It genuinely gave me higher hopes for the dub going in. Overall, however, the quality control for it is all over the place. Sometimes the line reads are great, sometimes the line reads are not so great. It's more like Revenge of the Sith, you know, like a lot of very stoic tonal acting with awkward delivery.
Senator Organa, my clone troops turned on me. I need help.
I have to destroy all of them, huh?
I entirely blame the direction and writing on this. The voice actors all have really good chops in other dub works, and it does sound like they're putting their hearts into their performances. But it also sounds like every other line read was a first take.
I'm going to turn you over to the Jedi Council.
The direct route to Cave 7 is good for another 3 minutes.
Like the most wooden possible read without any refinement for the enunciations of the words or their expression or the character, via the director just hearing them say it once and being like, okay, cut it, next. Or at least it feels that way. Some of the lines are way too verbose for the limited time they're given to say it.
Stop it! Crying won't fix any of your problem!
I'm actually sort of impressed she was able to get any emotion out of that in such a limited amount of time to say that long of a line. As well as dealing with a script that's so literal, it comes off as silly when read out loud in English. I don't care if Misato says fuck in the old dub, it adds punch when it's used in a limited capacity. This dude saying get over it instead of idiot takes away from the punch of the line. Even the Japanese voice actor says fuck with a hint of anger and impatience. And I don't think there's any possible way for Shinji saying Misato's a stranger to sound normal in English. It just sounds really weird.
You're just a stranger!
Okay, so humor me for a second. I can't really take this seriously when Shinji's voice is the equivalent to somebody making fun of somebody. You know where I'm coming from with this? Like when you're talking to somebody about like something someone did and you're like, oh, this guy was a total bitch to me. I was at Dunkin' Donuts and I was like, hey man, do you have any hash browns? And he was like,
we don't give me more hash browns!
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like when you're making somebody sound stupid and annoying. Also, when Sele says, we will conquer evil with evil, got a genuine gut laugh out of me. Again, this is Revenge of the Sith, dear.
You must realize you are doomed.
Good attempt, but it really would have benefited from a second draft or a second take from a lot of the voice actors, respectively. Oh, shit, I got a little sidetracked there. I just remembered that tangent about voice acting was meant to be a preface to this amazing cinematic experience. A cinematic experience being an experience where the acting, the animation, the cinematography, the editing, music, and sound design all come together to form that perfect cinematic journey. One that is immersive, exciting, and beautiful. All of which is the result of amazing direction. I already went over the voice acting and how the raw and amazing performances were able to bridge the language gap with their emotional passion, so I'd say that's an easy transition to talking about some post-production audio stuff. Half of which is only present in the Japanese version. For starters, the dialogue and sound effects mixing is both precise and atmospheric. In our first interior shot of NERV, it sounds like we're in a huge vacuum, and the 3 bridge crew members talking are mixed off to the right speaker, their voices echoing through the solid area of the room. Character voices being mapped to an audio channel complementary to the location in a room is actually a very common thing in both the movie and the show. This really makes us subtly feel like we're present in the room, and the result is super immersive. As far as sound effects go, there is an intense level of detail paid to both the subtle and the extreme. Gunshots, explosions, roars, punches, all sound awesome. Like, especially the mass production enemies. When they're all circling around Asuka, they sound like demons from hell that are simultaneously crying and laughing. And that sound somehow manages to get even more chilling when it's compressed through the NERV computer speaker. Speaking of compression, once again, I love the way radio filters sound. Something about that filtering is just like so cool to me. But how about some love for the little details, like the viscous sounds of the IV drip sloshing about as it rattles, the phone dial tone beeping as it swings off the cord. When this can rolls away, it rolls away into the proper speaker, once again making us feel like we're really there. The sound effects are mixed with as much precision as the voices. Ava often edits the sound effects as well, like here where Misato's car blinkers are quietly ticking, signifying the editing rhythm. The cars racing by in the background signify when to cut to the next shot. And hey, speaking of editing, let's talk about some of the stronger edits of the film. This one is one of my favorites. Later in the film, after Ritsuko dies, we see some masterclass shit in the way of properly pacing the mourning of a character's loss with a re-emergence into an amazing action scene. After Ritsuko's shot and falls into the Sea of Elcio, we cut to a smashed coffee mug, an object symbolic of herself, her stress, and her drive to always work to please Gendo. We hold in silence on the smashed mug for just the right amount of time before we're snapped back into the action by juxtaposing a cut with the sound of her ricochet. Similarly, with the whole cutting the sound thing, same as I explained in my last video about this show's editing, action and pacing is often in rhythm with music. Like here, the background music is building as we break down the situation. Once Fuyutsuki says, "Just as I thought," the guitar cues in, signifying that with the confirmed assessment of Seilei's plans, the stakes have been raised, and that his realization is very important. Sometimes character dialogue and sound effects can actually sub in for the scene's cutting momentum, similarly to some of the edits I mentioned earlier. When Maya shouts, "Why do they want Ava so badly?" we immediately cut to Misato explaining why. That is so on the nose, but it happens so fast that it does not in the slightest bit come off as hokey or jarring. There's often an ABC sort of rhythm with the pacing of the edits with movement. So as to keep our attention on a dialogue scene, we edit kind of like an action sequence, usually with a close-up of something that is in mid-motion, then easing to a calmer movement, also in mid-motion, and then to a more relaxed shot as the characters continue to talk. This makes exposition come off as less boring, as deceptively it starts out edited like, well, an action scene. It happens in a really cool way during this scene where Misato's talking to Hyuga and Maya over the phone. Cut the sound and movement as she sweeps the bob of her ponytail off. Then a close-up of her walking, and then a wide shot that is as cool as it is sexy. Best girl. I also think it's kind of cool that her footsteps are in sync to the music here. The flow of revealing information through editing is done in a really cool way here, in this scene where the JSDF are invading NERV. Like, the way this is done is so fucking smart that it feels like it has to be done by an editor who's working with existing footage. But nope, it's just the director who knows his shit.
Let me explain.
And the first shot, location is established, along with the sounds of off-screen footsteps and the building music. The subsequent shot shows us the source of the footsteps being the invasion force. And the final shot shows us a dead security guard, blood spilling over the NERV insignia. To break all this down, first we get location, then we get the character of focus, and then we get that character's intent, to spill the blood of NERV. Like, see what I mean? From the perspective of a director, a sequence of shots like this would normally be something done in hindsight, like by an editor, maybe with some smart location planning by a cinematographer. But here, it's just done by one director, who is extremely proficient in all the above.
So while I was editing, I noticed something particularly fucking awesome in terms of scene transitions with, like, natural foreground objects and editing. So, like, watch this real quick when it swipes between panning through the woods to the soldier putting the phone down. Okay, now watch it again in slow motion. That is fucking butter. That is the editing equivalent to butter.
The invasion of NERV itself is super frantic. Cuts are fast between constant slaughter and brutality, and soldiers come off as proficient and brutal while NERV seems completely helpless. A few shots were actually taken from a war movie Anna was a fan of. Oh hey, that last tangent actually had a lot to do with cinematography. Let's transition into talking about cinematography now, with this shot. Now, rightfully so, a lot of people give credit to The Last Jedi for making us really care about this random rebel. But, brother, I'ma do you one better. How about instead of a long sequence of events, just one shot that is barely 10 seconds long that makes you feel all of those exact same emotions? Now, before I go into why this works so well, I'd like to establish the principle of scene hierarchy. This basically means that by breaking a shot down into simple shapes and using natural lines, we can draw focus to an object. Okay, totally. When it comes to this, Jaws is king. In this scene, the predominant shape is that of Brody. Although the lines here aren't terribly gratuitous, we are using a very broad negative space, as well as placing less of a focus on the seemingly irrelevant Chun. That is, until Jaws pops up and takes up almost the entirety of the shot with the mere size of her. We're looking at a wicked smart and super classy jump scare here, my dudes. Now, back to End of Eva, take what I said and apply it to this shot. Same as usual, our attention has been captured with a close-up that's mid-motion in keeping with Anna's cutting philosophy. The main focus in the subsequent shot is this woman dragging a dead guy's body, crying as she does it, very nearly towards the edge of the screen. The natural diagonal lines of the shot draw our attention down the hall to what seems like an inconsequential background detail of soldiers.
Oh my
by.
god,
Now,
was
we can
the
affirm three things here.
camera that high the
First
whole
is that
time?
we
Dude, I've
only
been
see
here painting
armed
her
security
face this whole
personnel
time.
die to this point.
Holy crap.
Then, this is an unarmed crime
My bad,
woman,
guys.
basically serving the position of a medic or a widow. Those being contextual things that we see as innocent and salvageable in a basic war situation. The second is that in her very slow trudge to stage left, she's almost out of the shot. If she actually escapes off screen, we have a mental idea that the vague stage left would actually be her salvation. And finally, there's the soldiers. Similar to the chum in Jaws, them running by her seems irrelevant. Amidst the chaos, they aren't focusing on her, and we aren't really focusing on them. Now, considering all the above, this unarmed, suffering woman should make it to the edge of the frame with her dead body here. The soldiers are ignoring her, and she's so close to being off screen, but oh hello, this little shit just stopped. Thanks to perfect scene hierarchy, the soldiers never left our field of vision. Our attention is on her, but our peripheral was always on them. Again, same as Jaws. Then he shoots her. I actually feel so bad for this completely faceless, meaningless girl every time I see this movie. Like, they lay things out like she's going to have, like, almost a chance of making it, despite the fact that we never even see her face. And her pathetic situation makes it seem like she was such a worthless target, so, like, this shot could totally just end with the soldiers continuing to pass her by. But nope, gotta make it merciless as possible. It's actually right after this where we see the scene of them burning someone alive off screen. Also a woman. In the Japanese. In the dub, it's Tarzan. Fun fact, psychologically, we as an audience actually feel a lot more empathy towards women and children due to caveman-like instincts. Also pets, because they cute. Interestingly, this movie makes use of a shaky cam, juxtaposed by quickly cutting between close-ups. It's frantic as hell, but effectively so. A lot of modern filmgoers complain about the overuse of shaky cam, but in situations like these where it's used sparingly, it's, again, super effective. Also, can I just note that this is an animated film and it's making use of a live-action-esque shaky cam? When is the last time you've seen a traditionally animated film effectively make use of a shaky cam? Scenes with Misato and Shinji speaking to each other are often positioned very far away, particularly when Shinji's speaking. This is both done to convey the distance between them by literally showing the distance between them, as well as making us feel like an onlooker, like we're watching a family fight, and we should feel dirty for watching this happen. Like, it is none of our business what this dysfunctional surrogate family does. The fisheye lens from an overhead angle is meant to create a sense of foreboding and dread. Like the characters are powerless and unnerved at what they have to do. Misato's proud stance and focused, furious expression serves opposite to that, but then her voice complements it. There's a hint of hesitation, delay. She's our sense of hope and confidence. And also, it is wicked cool to see legitimate camera lenses taken into account for animation. Another aspect of cinematography is color grading and lighting, which can be used to establish mood. One standout moment is when Misato is in this tech room in Nerd, everything is simplified to be green, red, and blue. Now, the blue and green tones are used to make the room look cold. But let's think complementary colors. Divergent to blue and green on the color wheel are orange and red, respectively. Therefore, all the light sources being red or reddish-orange draws our attention to that part of the screen, as well as making them look damn appealing. This is actually one of my favorite color combos. Likewise, in Misato's final goodbye to Shinji, the white light of the elevator contrasts the black of the room they're in, Shinji being saturated in white, as if he's ascending to a higher plane, while Misato is cast in darkness as death approaches. And the earlier discussed wide-shot composition theory is still ongoing. Like, again, this is still meant to be like us bearing witness to something awkward in, like, a different family that we aren't supposed to see. However, interestingly, in close-ups, shots of Shinji are shot from a higher angle. This is likely to show us that in his current state of mind, he's emotionally beneath us as an audience and should be looked down upon as pathetic. Whereas Misato's at eye level. We're on her side. We want her words to help him. And also because watching a limp-ass Shinji being slumped around to the point of her getting shot kind of fucking sucks. Man up, Shinji! I also wish Misato's final words to Shinji were more effective. We're literally getting a better therapy session than the actual last 2 episodes of the show's therapy session. Now, with their last goodbye, we once again see a perfect harmonization of editing and cinematography. Shinji steps back and flails into the elevator. As he does, we enter a slow-mo effect, and the Foley sounds die down. We cut to Misato bask in light as we zoom out. Hold, and then the door slams shut in front of her. The sound effects re-emerging with the door shutting. This sequence is paced fucking amazingly. And then Darling and the Franxx just kind of stole it and took away any of the contextual weight it had. The fucking hacks.
Also, I don't really need to spell out that Misato, like with the heavenly glow around her over darkness, is meant to imply that she's gonna die. I'd like to add a note about Shinji's voice acting here. Hopefully without getting a copyright strike. When he slumps forward and cries, this isn't a regular, oh, I'm sad, my surrogate sister died kind of crying. This boy sounds like he's gonna fucking throw up. Also, to completely ruin the mood here, when Misato blows up, if you slow it down, you can see her body being shredded apart in the burst cloud. Oh, hey, this is an animated movie after all. Let me touch on animation. You know, like it's my job or something. Remember, guys, I'm an animator. Now, seeing as this is still Japanese animation, we're not going to get Disney-level fluidity. But the detail in the drawings is amazing, as well as the adherence to the 12 principles in such an effective and yet still cost-beneficial way. Like, drawing-wise, I always thought it was amazing how much effort they put into the detailing of the fleshier parts of the eye, as well as the eyelids around it. And also the gesture of the hands being so appealing and accurate. It's just great. Now, combining detail with amazing animation, guns are hard as shit to keep on model. Same with cars. But looky here, these incredibly talented Japanese fellas are just showing off. Now, without focusing on the amazing detail of the drawings, what really nails the fluidity and the movement of this is the timing and the spacing. Ooh, okay. Time to explain what that means. Animation is normally done on 24 frames per second, meaning each second has 24 individual drawings in it. Japanese animation usually cuts this in half, choosing to draw every 3 or 4 frames instead of every single frame. This is able to work because 24 is divisible by 3 and 4. The end result spreads out evenly. Now that's timing. What spacing is essentially the definitive shape of each silhouette of each drawing. The spacing is the space between each of those drawings. To have each pose read really well as a key pose, idealistically you give them a very spacious silhouette compared to the prior frame. Oh, got to explain keyframes now, but that's easy. The animation of key pose is the key position of movement. The breakdowns add character, precision, and depth to the movement. In-betweens are everything in between. Now, because I just laid out a bunch of technical shit with animation, watch this gun cocking again. Bearing in mind that this is using limited poses and only makes use of keys and breakdowns with little to no in-betweens. Now, appreciating slow motion. This is smart as fuck, flows extremely well, and is the work of people who have mastered the art of movement. I'll say, how you like that bounce back on the top? That's squash and stretch, baby. But without actually squishing anything, though. You know, because a malleable pistol would look like super cartoony and break your immersion. You know, like the sound effects. The only exception being these nice-ass mirror frames meant to simulate motion blur. But how the fuck could I talk about animation in the end of Evangelion without even touching on the Asuka fight? Because remember when I said that this is one of the most well-done fights in all of animation ever? Here's why, bitch! Now, all that shit I built up about animation, cinematography, sound, and editing, that wasn't for nothing. As all of this is used in amazingly effective full force here. For starters, mood lighting. This entire first shot takes place underwater because the sound of the ocean is super calming, and the blue tint to the whole shot makes it feel comforting. It's still cold. Like, literally cold, and also emotionally cold. Which is almost contradictory to the fact that she's being bombed right now. However, these things with her whimpering voice and the camera slowly panning closer and closer to her, with her voice getting louder as we approach, fixates our anticipation and fear upon her. And right when we're starting to think hearing "I don't want to die" whispered into the mic is boring, we start to hear the voices in her head. Now, something that might not be clear here is she's actually not just remembering her mother, but the fact that her mother tried to kill her at a very young age. This is implied through the lines, "Die with me," and the sound of a young Asuka whimpering. If you read the manga, they actually illustrate this, but likely take some creative liberties. As her insanity reaches its boiling point, we fast cut to a stuttering white with a lapse of disturbing images in her head. One of them actually being her dead corpse riddled with maggots. But next, something contradictorily pleasant happens. Her mother reaches out to her via the connection with that her mother never really grew distant from her, never abandoned her, never thought of her as a doll, because she was always there within her Eva, protecting her as an AT figure. Now, something amazing about this fight is that similar to the shot of the gun I showed before, the timing and spacing is fucking perfect. There's also a really great use of the other 12 principles, most predominantly anticipation and arcs. Anticipation basically means what you assume it does. A split-second frame of action that builds to a reaction. Arcs basically mean the trajectory of the movement is done in a curve-like fashion, where the keys and the breakdown signify a more natural wave-like movement rather than a straight line between each key pose. Also, we have an extremely effective use of editing and shot choices to fully sell the scale and weight of the lumbering mass of Eva she's piloting. Often cutting inside the cockpit, to Asuka borderline struggling to get the Eva to lunge forward, which is then match cut to the outside of the Eva making that same movement. The camera often drags behind Unit 2 in the Eva series to give them a better sense of speed and force, as well as to really add to the extreme weight. Like they're so fast and so heavy that our eye can't even follow it. We consistently cut to wide shots to give us a full sense of scale and perspective, then cutting to close-ups of the ground being destroyed with the Eva smashing their feet into the earth. Also, oh my god, this shit is violent, and I love it! Quick note to further impress, this particular section of the fight is actually done with a straight-ahead animation method. Now usually, like I said, there are keys and breakdowns. An animator working pose to pose would draw each key and then each breakdown, and then in between all those poses. Well, actually, usually an intern or like a grunt man will in between all the poses and everything, but you know. But what's unique to straight ahead is that, like the name implies, the animator just drew every single pose as it happened, meaning no planning with the key poses. He just started drawing and let the flow of the movement be dictated strictly by how he felt. Something that really lends to the weight is the body language of Asuka. Her force of gravity is entirely centered to her upper body, her shoulders bearing into every single lunge and strike to such a strenuous extreme that everything else drags behind them, with the exception of shots where her head leans forward to scream. Her feet are firmly planted on the ground so to concentrate all of her power onto her upper body's movements, her hair loosely swinging behind her every time she gets knocked around. Now before we get back to the fight, I'd like to quickly talk about Seilei's intentions. Some people might find their plans confusing, but that's because they're not inherently evil. The violent retaliation against Nerve and Asuka isn't necessarily them trying to be as cruel as possible. It's them doing what they feel is necessary to put Nerve back in its place, and also to stop Gendo from realizing his own form of their plan, instrumentality, before they do. For starters, they initially just tried hacking into them. This means they can preserve the Magi as a monument to humanity's existence, similar to Yui in Unit 1. It also would have granted them full control over the Nerve headquarters, meaning they could have enacted their plan however they wanted. The JSDF invasion was actually caused by them lying to the Japanese government, telling them that Nerve was planning instrumentality instead of Seilei. Thus, the Japanese government, an entire genocide of the whole world, should be met with extreme force. And the combat usage of the mass production Evas was something they never really wanted to do, so they had to drop them in before Unit 1 arrived, to take care of her, at the risk of sacrificing a few. So again, it was never to be violent or inflict as much cruelty as possible, they even say this, but they're insane, and are after the next stage of human evolution, doing everything within their power to obtain it before Gendo can. Okay, back to the fight again. I just wanted to clear that up because I've heard people call this shit a plot hole, and that's fucking stupid. And oh fuck, her scream is already chilling, but then you add the beep of the battery dying on top of that, and it's legitimately horrifying. Although a genuine complaint I have about this movie is that I think it's odd that Maya's almost vomiting from the side of a computer monitor. The idea that she's supposed to be reacting to what we as an audience are seeing because she's meant to be our vessel, but in context she's basically seeing Half-Life 2.exe stop responding over and over again. Ugh, actually, I'd vomit too if I saw that. But speaking of gross, Unit 2 jeering its eye up onto the impaled lance is fucking cringe-inducing just from the sight of it. I love that I hate it. Also, this shot of Asuka reaching up into the sky is definitely meant to parallel the image of Adam reaching up to God. Symbolically, there is the obvious Catholic symbolism, half of which is aesthetic. The other half is aesthetic, with loose implications. Like Shinji holding onto a cross necklace isn't him holding onto God, it's him holding onto Misato. And like, yeah, look at that, guys, Shinji's sitting in parking space 666, implying he's the devil. But let's just ignore the Catholic symbolism for a second, like, seriously, dude? How about instead we analyze the meaning behind a few of these here shots real quick? Like, here in the opening, to an unattentive viewer, this might seem like a very odd start to the film, but let's break it down. First of all, he's standing by the lake where he met Kaoru, as well as the location where Rei's Eva self-destructed. Now, interpret this as Shinji thinking about the past, and about those he cared about and lost. And probably about how it was all his fault. But in a very subtle way, this serves as a rhyming thematic beat to a later section of the movie.
Did I get an order? No, I didn't get a, I wasn't able to pre-order my PS5, bro.
Sitting over the lake where Rei perished and where he met Kaoru, this is meant to subtly symbolize that his thoughts dwell in them. And if that idea didn't sink in, the bucket plopping into the water is a literal rhyming shot to when Shinji popped his head off. Myself, among many other people, read Shinji's wet hair and silk clothing
Calm down.
indicative of a suicide attempt. Like he was in such a low state of mind that to reunite with Kaoru.
Alright guys, I'm in the stream and I gotta let the dog
shots
go.
in episode 4 that are meant to imply Shinji is contemplating suicide. Even further enhanced by the fact that in episode 16 or 18, I don't remember exactly which one, we find out Shinji can't swim. However, Geek Shooter, I Am Bounty Hunter, speaks Japanese and owns a storyboard book from the end of Evangelion. So he's able to both show and tell us
Watch out. Watch out. Move. Move out of the way. I'm coming. Oh, so you got yours in? Damn, bro. Yeah, I didn't know the date of pre-orders, and so yeah, I didn't get my shit, yo. All right. Alright, I'll get with y'all next time. I'll probably go downstairs and stream some video games anyway. Peace.